I'll answer in English, so maybe I accept Nomi's idea of communicating with you directly. I think it's more effective. So first of all, let me, this is the conclusion of the day, more or less. So first of all, let me thank you, the Heinrich Boell Foundation, people here in Germany, and your office in Tel Aviv. Maybe most of the people don't know, but you are doing a very important work in Israel by helping and assisting this democratic society that Nomi Chazan talked about. And I'm part of this movement, and I tell you that your assistance and contribution, I tell it to you, is very effective and very much appreciated. So, thank you. You asked me a personal question about Israeli-German relations, so I'll answer a personal, I'll give you a personal answer. My family survived the Holocaust because they fled to Russia during the occupation of Poland. My father was born in Warsaw at the end of 1938, and at the age of 1 year, his mother, my grandmother, took him, and she walked all the way to Lithuania, and then they passed the entire war in a Jewish refugee camp in the area of Komi, which is northern Siberia. And then at the year of 1946, they made the way back to Poland. They were resettled in an area where German people used to live. Yeah. The communist regime put them there, and it was Western Poland, Silesia. And then in 1957, my father's family came to Israel because of the Gomulka anti-Semitic approach, and just because no other country was giving them any visa. They were not Zionists. They didn't want to go to Israel. They had a lot of family in America, in Brazil, in Argentina, in France, but none of these countries allowed them in. And so they landed in Israel. I was born in Israel 6 years later. So this is my personal story. And nowadays, 2 weeks ago, my sister moved to Berlin. She's married to a German guy. Yes, she's married to a German guy. They have a daughter. They live in Kreuzberg. I just visited them yesterday. And it's not easy. It's not easy. It's complex. For my parents, it's a big issue. Personally, I tell you, this is the truth. But it's part of our family, literally. I have a brother-in-law who is German. And, you know, we deal with that. We deal with that. And that's it. We see ourselves, each of us, as friends. And as Nomi Chazan stated, and Mrs. Beck as well, the future lies in democracy. In democracy here in Germany, and in democracy in Israel. And as long as those two nations keep democracy strong and solid, then we can deal with it. Then we can deal with it. Because if the situation there or here changes, then it would be very difficult for both of us to deal with each other. Now, I think that relations today between Israel and Germany are extremely deep and developed. There is a real friendship between the states. I see so many artists from both countries, so many scientists, so many teachers, so many youth, so many students coming and going. So much trade, so much economic cooperation, everything. I favor that. I like it. I I think it's important for both countries, and I hope we can develop this mutual friendship. But again, mutual friendship, especially between Israel and Germany, because this is unique. This is very special, lies on democracy. And now, about democratic issue. Nomi Chazan was perfectly right by describing the rift nowadays in Israel because between non-democratic and democratic forces. There is another element to that, and we are in the midst of this change. The other element is the social element. You cannot, and you know, that politics is first and basically about economical and social issues. And this is politics all over the world. In Israel, unfortunately, politics for many years is centered exclusively on the national issue, which is very important. We could not ignore it, but you must remember that for many years this national issue was used by political forces in order to hide the social and economic issue. And under the shadow of nationalism, Israel developed a very disturbing situation of inequality. I think that today Israel, among developed nations, is second only to the United States. Maybe Israel is already in front of the United States regarding inequality. You know, one of the reasons that my sister moved to Berlin is that apartments here are much cheaper than in Tel Aviv.
So you tell us.
When I went to dinner last night, it was much cheaper than in Tel Aviv. But our wages, what we earn, is much less than the German average salary. Now, people are not stupid, and people cannot be fooled for so long, and people start to talk about their own problems, about the rent, about the privatization of basic services, of education, of health, about the lack of public transportation. I mean, you are the Green Party, you understand how important it is. And so we witnessed this amazing social protest, which still has two characteristics. First of all, it was the biggest in the world, not just in proportional numbers, as Nomi said, but also in absolute numbers. Little Israel, tiny Israel, sent out hundreds of thousands of demonstrators. The second characteristic element of this social protest is that those demonstrations, which were the biggest in the world, were also the most peaceful in the world. Not even one window shop was broken. No graffiti. Nobody was killed. Nobody got wounded. Nobody, no, it's not Greece, it's not Egypt, it's not Spain. This is Israel. And this was the force of the movement. This was something new completely new to Israeli politics. What was the reaction of the government facing this huge social protest? Anti-democratic legislation. Because they understood the basics of politics, social unrest. You know, I'm social democratic. Okay, I'm also green, but also social democratic. And you know, Karl Marx was right in a way. I'll say it in Hebrew: "Havaya kovat et hatoda'ah." Your situation determines your political affiliation. And poor people that constantly vote to the extreme right wing that deprives them of their pension, of their health, of their education, of their housing. This is not normal. This is not normal politics. And now we are changing. Now we are moving into another direction. And this is very important. Now the government understood this. Netanyahu understood that this can be the changing factor that can take him out of power. So he initiated this vast wave of anti-democratic legislation against freedom of demonstration, against freedom of the press, against the courts, against the NGOs, to prevent a second wave of social protest. But we will have a second wave of social protest, you'll see, during this coming summer. We will go out again. And then what we lack, what we miss, is the ultimate phase, which is the interpretation of the social protest into a political change. Into a political change, because Israel is a democracy, and you change regime, you change government by voting. This is not Syria, you don't have to kill anybody. You can vote, you can vote. And I'm extremely optimistic about our chances to interpret, to transform the social protest into political change. But, I'm concluding, just bear in mind, it takes time. You remember 1968 in Paris with your Danny Cohen-Bendit, who was now Danny the Red, now he's Danny the Green, whatever. Okay? How long it took for the French to bring Mitterrand to make the political change? 13 years it took them, 13 years. In the United States, after 1968, with Martin Luther King and Robert Kennedy and all this huge wave, it took them 8 years, 1976, till Jimmy Carter came to power. So it takes time. But because Israel had the largest demonstrations in the world, because they were so peaceful, because they were so true and just, then our process will be quicker. Will be quicker. And if you feel, if you doubt this, just look around yourself here. I was here for the first time, in this place, exactly here, in 1986. 1986. It was only 3 years before the wall came down, and I was here, and still Honecker, and we were in the Berliner Ensemble, and I was here, this building didn't exist. And had I sat there, in 3 years, this whole thing is going to disappear, would you believe me? No. And it happened. So, you are the example. Thank you very much.